LEGO Star Wars playsets have a huge problem when it comes to fluidity. And what I mean by this is if you look on a shelf nowadays, there is not one set that is from the same scene or even like close. You know, there's a couple that are close, maybe they appeared at one point, but there's not enough sets to make a scene. And let me give you an example. If we go back to 2013, they made multiple sets based on the Battle of Geonosis. We look at it, we got the gunship. The gunship was featured when Anakin and Obi-Wan and Padme were going to help Yoda fight Count Dooku. Battle of Geonosis, right there. Then we have the Corporate Alliance tank, also on Geonosis, part of the Battle of Geonosis. Next is the ATTE. I don't know if you've seen ATTE in the Battle of Geonosis, but it is there. Also, to go directly with the gunship was the duel on Geonosis. This set had Yoda and Count Dooku. Also keep in mind, we haven't had a Count Dooku since. Okay? And that's just one example. In the same year, 2013, we got a Jabba sail barge and a Rancor pit. And then the year before, we got the top part. We got Jabba's palace, and they combined to make a Jabba's palace plus Rancor pit. And that is just something we do not see nowadays, is multiple sets making up a scene. If we look at the sets that have come out this year so far, not a single one has correlated to each other. The next year, 2023, we look through it, and the only sets that have somewhat correlation, but even this is a stretch, is the Ahsoka Tano's T6 shuttle, the New Republic E-Wing vs Shin Hati Starfighter, and the Ghost and Phantom 2. But even then, I don't think all those ships were in the same scene together. They're just all from the same show. So you can't really argue it. But as we keep going, there isn't any years where this is the case. The last year that you can even argue there was some correlation between sets was 2020. In 2020, we got an Obi-Wan's hut, a Luke's Landspeeder, and the UCS Cantina. That is 3 sets, and I think those are perfect. I think 3 to 4 is a perfect number, and those all go together. If you get the Cantina, if you get the Obi-Wan's hut, if you get the Luke's Landspeeder, you can recreate pretty much the whole opening scene for A New Hope. The whole opening scene. The only thing you could maybe need is the Millennium Falcon, but even that's a stretch. So, what are some things LEGO can do? The main one I thought of is LEGO has 3 main release waves in a year. They have the January wave, they have the March wave, and they have the August wave. So, if we think about it, I think, it doesn't matter which order you go in. The orders can adjust, but January, make an original trilogy. Original trilogy, you take, say you have 5 sets releasing, you take 4 or 3 of the sets releasing for that wave, make them all from one scene from a movie off the original trilogy. If we think of A New Hope, you have, the Cantina, you have a Millennium Falcon, you have a Landspeeder, and an Obi-Wan's hut. And then next, in your March wave, you make that your subline wave. LEGO has plenty of sublines right now. The Buildable Figures, Starship series, and now the Bust. Multiple sublines. Make that your subline wave. You maybe do 4 sets for the subline, and then 1 for the sequels, because nobody cares about that. But lastly, the August wave. You make it prequels. You could do a Phantom Menace, and maybe do a pod racing. You do Watto's shop. You do a shop, and then you have a Anakin versus Sebulba pod racing set. And then maybe you could do even a Darth Maul Sith Infiltrator, and you're done. You have the whole, first third of a Phantom Menace. And then you just rinse and repeat for years. It doesn't have to be the same movie every year. Obviously, you're going to do different scenes every year. But eventually, you will have correlated waves of sets. And to add this, you could go back to the old box art designs. The old box designs where you have a green, or whatever color label up top with a character in the corner to symbolize. That is a key memory of my childhood. I think it was 2013 was Yoda, 2010 was Rex, and then 2009 was just a basic clone trooper. And I can just remember that off the top of my head because of how iconic they were. But if you look at sets on shelves nowadays, they all have different box arts, they all have different characters. There's no, fluidity through the theme. And not only would this be great for short term, because it's going to make everybody want to buy the sets, if every set correlated to one another, I would want to buy every single set on the shelf. That way I could finish a whole scene. You see these shelves behind me. If I could get a whole pod racing theme with like 4 sets, put them all on a shelf, I would buy every set. But like, if we look at the sets that are out nowadays, I have no, desire or reason to collect every set. If we look at the sets that came out this year, I have 1 buildable figure, 2 Starship Series sets, and then a mech and a bunch of smart play sets, and then some Mandalorian sets that don't have any correlation. What do I gain from collecting all those? I have no reason to buy half these sets. The only one I really want is the Starship Series and the BB-8, so I can add to my collectible buildables back there. Other than that, I don't care. I don't want the rest of them, There's no point. But if they all had fluidity, I would buy every single set to fill my shelves because they all correlate. So I think it'd help with sales, but long term, this would just help with just everything. You look at, past years like 2013, like 2009, 2010, they're iconic years of Lego. But now, if you were to say, oh, name 2020 Lego Star Wars, I couldn't do it. Name 2021 Lego Star Wars, couldn't do it. Even name 2024 or 2025, just a couple years ago, I can't name sets that came out in that wave. I look behind me, all I sit behind me, I can't tell you exactly which year they came out. Like, I can tell you maybe a couple, but out of all of them, I'm like, who cares, Who cares? I can't look back at the past couple waves and be like, oh, that wave was iconic. And not saying when you release a wave, it has to be all part of the theme, but you do 2/3. Say you release 5 sets. 3 to 4 of the 5 sets are from a scene, and maybe 1 or 2 are one-off sets, Like, let me think of one example. The Acclimator. The Acclimator, a one-off set. The buildable figures, one-off sets. I'm trying to think of some others, but I can't off the top of my head. But just sets that don't get made. Like a UTAT. A Juggernaut, Those are one-off stuff that isn't in much Star Wars media, so you can't really make a whole scene out of it. Or, let me give you one more example. Like, a bunch of Clone Wars sets. Like, you could do Clone Wars scenes, but I think those are better just still as one-off sets. Like the Juggernaut, like the V-19 turret, like a Z-95 Headhunter. Those are one-off sets. You can have 1 or 2 of those per wave, and it'd be perfect. But, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think could be done to fix the Lego Star Wars playset, dilemma. Because, I don't know about you, but I have no desire to buy the sets that have been coming out recently. Because, A, they're not good, or there's just no reason to buy them for my collection. But let me know what you guys think. I'm interested to hear, and yeah, take care. Bye.